If you feel like you're on the verge of losing your family, I want to give you a chance to save your family before it's too late. My name is Marquez, founder of The Unbreakable Father. I came from a broken home, and I almost let the pain of my past destroy and break up my family. That's why I help high-performing fathers like you save their families before it's too late. This video is only for you if you want your wife to fall in love with you again, if you want your kids to run to you instead of running away from you, if you want to actually feel like you belong in your home instead of feeling like a stranger. And if that's what you want, I have a way to make all that happen for you. Because if your family life isn't good, your legacy won't be either. But saving your family isn't going to happen just because you want it to. It isn't going to happen just because you try harder. I'm going to show you why willpower alone won't fix your marriage or your home. And I know you're probably thinking, how is my family in danger? Why do they need to be saved? The truth is, they do need to be saved. They need to be saved from you. I'm talking about the destructive behaviors that are quietly tearing your house apart right now. The explosive anger and rage that makes your kids walk on eggshells. The lack of emotional intelligence that leaves your wife feeling completely alone. The emotional shutdown where you go cold, you distance yourself, and you remain silent for days. And escaping through workaholism, porn, alcohol, because the pressure is just too much for you to handle. That's what the problem is. And that's what is actually destroying your family. But before I talk about how to fix you, I need to talk about what's happening in the world right now. Because you aren't the only one struggling with these behaviors. There's a crisis going on in the fatherhood community, and it's been happening for a long time. In 1970, only about 12% of children in America grew up in a single-parent home. Today, that number is 29%. Single-parent homes have nearly tripled since then. According to the Pew Research Center, the United States has the highest rate of children living in single-parent households in the world. And before you think those numbers don't matter, I want you to see what it's doing to the children growing up in those homes. Studies say kids who grow up without a present father are twice as likely to develop serious behavioral and mental health problems. They're more likely to drop out of school, and they're more likely to end up in prison. And their children are more likely to end up in the exact same situation one day. And here's a crazy stat that nobody talks about. Men under the age of 34 years old who lose their families through separation or divorce have up to 8 times the suicide risk of married men their age. That's not just a number, that's a tragedy. The system has been waging a war on men, a war on fathers for too long, and we are losing that war quietly. Now here's why I'm telling you this, not to scare you and not to shame you, but because you need to understand what is actually at risk. Your family isn't just about you, your wife, and your kids. Your family is the foundation of everything. Everything? Everything. Miles Monroe, one of my favorite preachers, said it this way: the family is the first institution that God ever created. Not the church, not the government, and not the school. It's the family. Which means that when the family breaks down, everything built on top of it, it breaks down with it. And that's exactly what we're watching happen in real time today. That's why the Bible says that a house divided against itself, it can't stand. In other words, it's doomed, and it's most definitely going to fall apart. But that's why I'm making this video, because I want to stop that from happening. Now, let's look at the positive side effects of a family that actually has a present father in it. Kids with emotionally present fathers grow up with stronger emotional regulation. They tend to have healthier relationships later on in life, and they display more resilience, and they typically experience more success in the future. When a father is whole, the entire family gets stronger, which means that you fixing you has a compound effect on your whole family and their families in the future. Now let me tell you something that most men have never been told. The word husband in its original form means house bond. Think about that. House bond. You aren't just the head of your home, you are the bond that holds everything together. You are the structural glue of your family, which means that when you're unstable, your family is unstable. When you're broken, your family is broken. When you're damaged, your family is damaged. When you are whole, the success rate of your family increases. My guy Miles Monroe used to say, the father's role in the family is like the driver of a train. I worked at CSX, one of the largest railroad companies in the world, for 5 years as a freight conductor. And I would have to agree with them on this one. Too many times, we take our role as the leader to mean that we should just be pointing our family in the right direction. But the engineer of a train, he drives the freight in the right direction. A lot of fathers today are acting like the conductor of the train instead of acting like the engineer, telling their wife and kids where they need to go. But they aren't driving. They're just dictating. We have to stop with this do as I say and not as I do attitude. Your job isn't to be a lord, it's to be a leader. That is why you must lead by example. You must be a man of your word. If your words don't match your works, nobody's going to follow you. Nor should they, if we're being honest. Remember, the train goes where the engineer takes it. And you also need to know you can't lead your family from the back of the line. You got to get out in front. You have to go first. And you can't do that with a corrupted program that is running in the background and controlling your actions, your decisions, and your life. You have to remove the old operating system that society, your parents, and even religion installed into you. Here's what I need you to understand. Your brain runs on two systems, the conscious mind and the subconscious mind. The conscious mind, that's where your intentions live. Because the front of your brain, called the prefrontal cortex, it acts like an executive command center of your brain, and it helps you focus, gives you the ability to recall things, and it helps you regulate your emotions and make logical decisions. But studies say you only use this part of your brain about 5% of the time. The subconscious mind is where your identity is built from. It's where your beliefs, your trauma, and your experiences live. It runs the other 95% of your behaviors, your reactions, and your emotions based on that past programming, typically from the first 7 or 8 years of your life. So let's do some math real quick. Every promise you have ever made and broken, every good intention that you had but you never followed through, every time you tried to change and ended up right back in the same exact place. That was your 5% trying to fight against the 95%. And that is a fight that you will lose every single time. It's like stepping into the ring with prime Mike Tyson with one hand tied behind your back. You definitely gonna get knocked out. If you actually wanna save your family, you don't need to try harder. You don't need to want it more. And I know we hear that from sports and competing all the time, but no, you need to untie your hands and rewrite the code that has been preventing you from being the man, the husband, and the father that you need to be. Because behavior follows identity, not the other way around. And you can't overcome a bad operating system. You just can't do it, no matter how hard you try. I need you to understand me when I say this. Your behavior really isn't the problem. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's not okay, but it's not the problem. I'm not saying this to give you a pass for being abusive or destructive in your home. I just want you to know that your behavior is not the sickness. It is a symptom of bad programming. Your behavior is just the tip of the iceberg. The real problem is the programming that is running underneath it. Just like the majority of the iceberg is below the water, and you can't even see it. And that programming has been running your life this whole time. And it has been affecting your family, whether you know it or not. Before I keep going, I want to let you know that I can't go over everything in this video. That's why I took everything I know and I put it in this book. It's called I've Been Framed, How to Rewrite the Code That Is Running Your Life Before It Costs You Your Family. It's only $9, and believe me, it's worth it. In the book, I'll walk you through how your belief system got installed. I show you how it has been controlling your behavior ever since. And I explain the process I use with other high-performing fathers like you to start rewriting the code and upgrading their operating system. I'll leave a link for it in the description below. And don't worry, if you think it's trash, I'll give you back your cash. So now that you understand the problem, I hope you see that you are being controlled based on your identity. And your identity was built in a season of your life that you had no control over. So the question is not, what do I need to do differently? The question is, who do I need to become? Because remember, behavior follows identity. Always has and always will. When the identity changes, the behavior changes automatically. And you don't have to force it. You don't white knuckle your way to being a better husband or a better father. You just become a different man, and the behavior is just the natural expression of who you have become. All right, let's get to the nitty-gritty real quick, because I've been talking about programming and identity. But I want you to understand what that looks like in the real world. The obstacles standing between you and the family that you want are not abstract. They're very specific. And most men are too ashamed to name them out loud. So I'm gonna name them for you. One of the first ones is porn. Porn isn't a sex problem, it's a pain management problem. It's a man whose identity tells him that he's not enough, reaching for something that makes him feel loved and appreciated for 5 minutes. And then the shame hits, and the shame feeds the same wound that drove him there in the first place. And the cycle just repeats itself. I know, because I've lived it. Not just anger, porn. Identity transformation is what broke that cycle for me. When a man changes who he is at the core level, the need for the 5 minutes disappears. You don't need the porn. You don't need the anger. And workaholism. Most people think that workaholism is about ambition. It's not ambition. It's a man whose identity says that his worth is tied to his production. So he produces and produces, and his family gets whatever's left, which typically is nothing. The anger and the rage outbursts. You know, when you walk around like the Hulk, trying to smash everything because you pissed off. You consistently snap over small things. And 5 minutes later, you're sitting there on the sofa asking yourself, how did you let that happen again? It's not an anger problem though. That is a man who's been programmed to control things, people, and his environment so he can protect himself from being hurt again. The distance that you give to your family, you're in the same house, sometimes the same room, but you feel like you're miles away from each other. Not because you've stopped loving her, but it's because you don't feel safe being vulnerable. So you just try to avoid her. Listen to me. Every single one of these things traces back to you having a corrupted operating system. If you're dealing with these exact same obstacles in your life right now, then you need help. And the good thing for you is, this is exactly what I help other high-performing husbands and fathers like yourself fix inside my group coaching program called The Fatherhood. I put together a document that breaks down everything. It shows you exactly how the program works, shows you how we help you rewire your mind, and how we help rebuild you into the leader your family actually needs. I left a link for that offer doc somewhere down in the description below. Or you could just go to my IG and DM me the word unbreakable, and we can have a conversation. All right, now let me show you the exact framework that we use inside that program to do this identity transformation work. All right, now this is what I call the trauma framework. Let me walk you through the framework that has changed. This framework has changed everything for me and for the men that I work with. It's called the trauma framework. There are 6 steps, and each one of them connects to each other. So T is for triggers. The first step is knowing what sets you off. Not just what, but why. Every trigger is just a wound looking for an exit. When you know your triggers, you stop being ambushed by them. And that allows you to now focus on the next step. The next step is the letter R, which is for responses. What actually happens when you get triggered? Do you explode? Do you shut down? Do you get cold? Your response is not a character flaw. It's data. It's your body telling you that something is unresolved, that there's a wound still there somewhere. And once you see what you do and know why you do it, then you can do the next step. A is for acceptance. This is the one that nobody likes because it forces you to get real with yourself. And it's the one that changes everything. Let me make this clear. It wasn't your fault that you were programmed this way, but you are the only one who can change it now. Acceptance is removing the excuse to stay stuck. See, this right here, this is the step that makes a man want to quit. All right, this leads to the next step. U is for understanding. Understanding your emotions. You were taught that emotions were weak, so you learned to bury everything. But you don't get rid of emotions by suppressing them because compressed things will always pop back out. All compressing your emotions does is cause you to lose control of them when they come out. See, when you can name what you feel, you get to decide what to do with it. And that allows you to do the next step. The letter M is for mental clearing. Once you have the data, you get a chance to start clearing out what doesn't belong. The false beliefs, the distorted thinking, the identity that was built in survival mode, the pain, and the experiences that you remember. You replace them with truth. You replace them with the beliefs that the new version of you would have. And once you do that, you can do the next step, the very last step. A is for accountability. This is why the fatherhood exists. Because information without implementation is just entertainment. Most people won't execute unless they have someone right there with them, holding them accountable. You need to be in a room full of men, husbands, and fathers doing the same work as you, pushing you, holding you accountable, and not letting you quit when things get hard. Men who can see what you can't see because you're too close to your own problems. Remember, you can't see the label from inside the can. Identity transformation is not just about dealing with your past, it's about building towards your future. A future that you want, your family deserves, and one that is definitely possible for you. That is, if you get the right help. And if you would like to work with me, I would love to see if you are a good fit to join the fatherhood. Like I said earlier, there's a link somewhere down in the description below. Inside the fatherhood, every man has to walk through what I call the 3 P's. That's purpose, path, and plan. Purpose is your why. Who are you? And why do you exist? See, when a man gets clear on his purpose, something shifts in his life. He's not just trying to stop doing things that he shouldn't be doing. He is becoming who he needs to be to get to where he's trying to go. The next one is path. Path is the road. What does a thriving marriage look like for you specifically? What does your relationship with your kids look like when it's whole and when it's healthy? The path is the vision laid out clearly. Remember, the Bible says that without a vision, the people perish. So you need clarity on your purpose, you need to have a clear vision, and finally, you need a plan. Plan is the vehicle to get you where you're trying to go. The plan here, no pun intended, is to get you to do the specific daily behaviors that are consistent with the man that you're becoming. Because when your identity changes, the behaviors stop feeling like a chore and they start to feel natural. So to summarize, you have to find your true purpose, set the destination, and you gotta drive there. And if you want help doing any of that, I can help you if you want me to. The Fatherhood is my inner circle. It is a 6-month group coaching program that is focused on identity transformation for high-performing fathers. It's more than just a course. It's more than just a workbook. It's a complete rebuild of the man you are from the inside out. This is for the entrepreneur who has built a business but is losing his marriage. The executive who runs a team of 50 people but can't connect with his own kids. The fatherhood goes to the root of the problems, and we help you fix them for good. Let me ask you something real quick. What would it cost you if you don't fix this? The average divorce in America costs somewhere between $15,000 and $30,000 in legal fees alone. That doesn't count the cost of what it does to your kids, what it costs your wife, and what it costs you emotionally, what it costs every generation of your family that comes after you. $15,000 to fix this for good, to transform the identity, the bad programming, and the old operating system that no longer serves you, to become the man that your family has been waiting for you to be? Yeah, that's not an expense. That is the best investment that you can make in you. Now look, I want to share a very, very, very personal story with you real quick, because I want you to know why I started this business. I remember the day that my father was forced to leave our home. I was just a kid. I was only 8 years old. I was standing in the doorway, watching him get in the car and drive away. And in that moment, I made myself a promise. I said that I would never allow my kids to ever feel what I just felt in that moment. But years later, I was sitting alone in my house again, the house that I had bought for me and my family. My wife, she left me and she took the kids. And this wasn't the first time either. She left me 3 times, hoping I would get myself together. 3 times I sat in that house, asking myself, why do I keep ending up in the same position? Wondering why I couldn't keep my own family together. See, I was running a program that I didn't even know existed. The program that a hurt little boy wrote when he watched his father walk out, when he suffered through child abuse at the hands of the woman who said that she loved him. And until I dealt with that program at the identity level, nothing was ever going to change. Thankfully, my marriage is still together today. We've been together for 16 years. Man, that's a long time. Look, it wasn't always easy, but I did the work, and she did too. But look, I found a way out, and I can't sit back and watch other men stay lost when I know the path to help them set themselves free. Every day that you don't deal with this, your wife is drifting further and further away, quietly. You gotta understand that women don't make up their mind to leave all at once. it takes them time to reach that decision. They typically start off by stopping sharing things with you. They stop reaching out to you. And one day, they stop fighting altogether. And when a woman stops fighting, that isn't her finally giving you some peace. That's the beginning of the end. Your kids are watching you right now. And 20 years from now, they'll either be forced to break the cycle or repeat it based on what you show them right now. Look, you don't get to wait for the right moment. There'll never be a more perfect time than right now. Let the pain stop with you. You be the one to break the cycle. Does that sound good? If it does, go to the description and click the link for the offer doc right now. Read through it and go fill out the application. Because the version of you that your family is waiting for is not going to show up by accident. He has to be built on purpose. And the construction of your new identity, it starts with one decision. Are you going to make it today? Remember, unbreakable fathers create unbreakable families. Peace.